Okay.
And welcome everybody. We're back. It's Sunday night, time for Global Strangeness fun. We are Global Strangeness, myself, Scott, and Jeremy. Three complete strangers that came together with a love of the paranormal, creepy, folklore, you name it. If it's weird, we're into it. And this week, we have some guests joining us, and they're going to be talking about their own paranormal experiences with investigating and everything that they do. So with that being said, I'm going to go around the room, let everybody introduce yourselves. I know we have at least one person here that's got some books, so give a shout out to everything that you've done and where we can find you, and let us know what you're all about.
First things first, Deborah. Everything weird is a little bit too broad. We need to narrow that down a little bit. There's certain things I'm not into.
I'm sorry, but
Jeremy's
there was
into
talk
all
of
those
Bigfoot
things.
porn before. So when I stick by what I'm saying here, we have touched
Bigfoot
on some
porn
weird stuff.
Bigfoot porn, thumbs up. S&M, thumbs down. Just saying.
Okay,
Okay. Well,
I stand corrected.
With that being said, Heather, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name's Dr. Heather Leigh. I have been in the paranormal field for more than 30 years. Did most of my work behind the scenes, doing research, and I wanted to find out why paranormal activity happened. And as everyone, usually experiences when they get in this field, it's from a personal experience that they had at one point and they wanted answers. So that kind of dove me further into the field. I've worked with various people, including Chris McKinnell, who is Ed and Lorraine Warren's grandson, along with Joe Frankie. And I love the research about it. And that's my favorite part. And as I was mentioning before we went live, my ultimate goal in this field is to kind of make it no longer a pseudoscience. I use the scientific method that I've adapted to paranormal research, because you can't really make ghosts perform on command. And from there, it just developed into where I'm at today. I host every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. on WLTK-DB radio, Exploring the Paranormal, where I interview various guests. We talk about different scientific procedures you can do, as well as basically just whatever the guest is. I kind of go off of there for the topic. I also host Ghost Education 101 on Wednesday nights, and that is basically an educational platform that we started before when COVID hit, to kind of share information, because we were seeing a lot of people do all these live broadcasts that they were missing information, not so much doing it wrong, but they were missing the whole truth. And starting next month, I have another show on WLTK radio where I'll be hosting with Joe Frankie, and we'll be talking about Passport to the Paranormal and all the different locations you can go visit.
That's cool.
Nice.
Well,
My other show is getting on. It might be getting on a radio pretty soon. So nice.
Yep, I love it. I let my producer handle all the behind the scenes work.
Exactly.
Yep.
well, while we're waiting for Barry's buddy to come on, what was the thing that drove you into this field?
I was 16 or 17, and I had started seeing visions of my grandfather, and he had passed 10 years prior. I was 5, and he had a heart attack. We were outside playing in the snow, and I was there when it happened. But of course, my family rushed me out of there because, trying to protect the child. And I couldn't figure out why he was coming to see me all of a sudden. It had been, like I said, 10 years, and it was in a home he had never been to. We didn't own it when he was alive, and I couldn't put 2 and 2 together. And that kind of, back then in the 80s, it was in order for a location to be haunted, someone had to die there, essentially, was the theory back then. And it kind of got me researching, because he had never been there and didn't die there. Why was he there? And I just dove in head first from there. Okay.
Well, Barry, how much longer till your buddy gets here? Do you want to get into what you guys are doing?
Yeah, my brother Brad will pop in when he gets in, but he's usually fashionably late, so not a big deal.
Fashionably late.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
So to introduce myself, or how we?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. Well, I'm Barry Kling. I'm the older half of the Kling brothers. I guess best known for the TV show Ghost Lab on Discovery Channel way back when. Since then, we've been doing events, lectures, documentaries, podcasts, you name it in the paranormal field. Currently, we're in the mix of doing a lot of really, really high level paranormal experiments, collecting a lot of data over time. We're putting on events. And the events we do are not just in the typical investigation event. A bunch of people show up in a haunted house, and they kind of get lame and kind of get boring. But we actually dive into a lot of the history. Like, for example, we're going to Virginia next month. We're doing a tour of the last 72 hours of the Civil War. We're going to the key moments that happened the last 72 hours, which actually happens. My great-great-grandfather and his brother were there the last 72 hours of the Civil War. And we're going to go stand where they stood. We're going to do a little bit of paranormal investigating on the battlefield, as well as some other locations, but it's not all about investigating. It's kind of learning a little more history to go along with our investigating. So we're diving into that. We've coined the phrase paranormal with a purpose. Our lectures now, we kind of show people, why you do this. A lot of people just do this for shits and giggles, just kind of, just because they want to catch something. And we want to go further than that. We've actually shown where the paranormal can actually be predictable. We'd like to say with experiments and the data we're collecting, we're showing that. So we'll come out with that someday once we get more of a grasp on what we're dealing with. It should be something big. Now Brad's here. He's popped in.
I come in and I see all these people. I think I'm in one of my meetings I'm in every day. What's going on, everyone?
Howdy do.
Going on, brother?
Not a lot of.
You guys are both making your livings off of paranormal investigating to a degree, like paranormal.
No,
really.
Not at all.
No, not at all, actually.
No, we used to when we had Ghost Lab, we had to quit our regular careers and we did the TV show. And so for 2.5 years, we were full-time paid paranormal investigators. But no, since that ended, we have our regular. Now, grant you, we do this like probably 60-70 hours a week, and that's not an exaggeration. On top of our regular, our day jobs.
Well, that shows a love for it.
Or the insanity.
Yeah, or the stupidity of it.
Well, I am the skeptic of the show, so
I feel your
that up to
insanity.
Jeremy.
Hey,
Endeavor.
I work on my paranormal podcast probably a good extra 40 hours a week, top of my normal job. So yeah, 100%. Understand? Yeah, Moose. I know. I work on it a lot. I get it, but shut up. Shut the fuck up.
It's just a lot of planning, a lot of traveling. The other investigations that we do. We are working on a major podcast right now, and that's taking a lot of time. So, and it's been that way since Ghost Lab was off the air good 12 years ago, and we have not stopped since.
How was working for Discovery?
It's good and
Different.
bad. Yeah, good and bad. The good of it was, we had the opportunity to go to a lot of really cool places on someone else's dime.
That's cool.
We got access to, Alcatraz prison and, just places that you normally don't really get access to. Without Discovery, we wouldn't be doing this, at this level today. The bad thing is, when you sign to deal with the devil, you have to deal with the devil. So there's a lot of things where, just politics, red tape, things like that we don't really. We're two country boys from Texas, and we just don't take shit off anybody. And that
that whole film and entertainment industry is a breed of their own, and they have their own agendas and they have their own timelines, and they have everything is hurry up and wait. Everything. We'd wait for months and months and months for something, and as soon as it would come around, it was like, we need it now. We need it now. The travel that we did. What's funny is our show originally started out to be 3 pilot episodes that we were just going to do. We were going to take like vacation from our job and just go do the pilot episodes and be done with it. And that quickly turned into, well, no, they want 6 episodes off the bat. We're like, we'll probably take extended vacation and do that. But then a few days later, literally on the road with one of the executive producers, they said, "Hey guys," and this was in April, and they said, "We need 13 1-hour episodes," and an episode is 2 locations, 2 whole, and we film 3 to 6 days in each location, and we need it by October. We need to air in October. So it's like we hit the road. We're on the road 8 weeks at a time. We come home 2 or 3 days. We go back out for 6 weeks. We come home for 3 or 4 days. We go back out for like 8 or 10 weeks. For 2 years, it was grueling.
Wow.
That was fun though, right?
It was fun.
Yeah.
I keep saying different. It was definitely different. You know.
Yeah, we got to see, like I said, do a lot of things. We had our kind of our little carnival family. We had all the film, the camera guys, the audio guys, producers, of course, our team. We all became this kind of traveling family and of carnies, and we just it was awesome. It was. I wouldn't
There you
trade
go,
it for the
Scott.
world. I wouldn't
There you
trade
go,
it for the world.
Scott. Carney family. There you go, Scott.
Yeah,
Goals.
different Carney family.
So yeah, it was like I
Definitely
said,
shows.
good things and bad
Shout out.
things. But like without them, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing today. We wouldn't be as known, I guess, without the TV show.
And do you feel like you're a little bit restricted when you're working like that on TV with, for them versus just doing your own
Hmm.
thing?
What's
So a little
funny
bit more
is
authentic.
Well, what's funny is that a lot of people who are on TV shows will say yes. We still did what we wanted, and they worked around us. In fact, the whole idea of Ghost Lab and it was Discovery Channel, so they never had a ghost show. And you have Discovery Channels about education and science and all that kind of stuff, and they're real leery about doing a ghost show, but we kind of fit the bill. So the show worked around us and how we did it. And there obviously there's when there's 2 camera guys, 2 audio guys and stuff in the room with you, it's a little bit different investigating as opposed to when you're just in there by yourself with just me and my brother.
Mhm.
But we got to a point where it was like a dance, and we got to know how the camera guys were and how the audio guys were. And the way we saw it is that it was just 2 extra cameras and 2 extra audio that would help us investigate. And there's a lot of times that those cameras caught stuff or the audio caught stuff that we wouldn't have otherwise caught. So we just considered them extra investigators. So yeah, and they definitely weren't used to that. They weren't used to the whole being buddy with what they call the talent. It's very separated in that industry, but we brought them together and said, nah, if we're going to hang out for this long, we're going to be family.
There's 2 jobs. They had, Discovery, they had to tell a story, and then we have to investigate. And it's, to marry the 2 was it was interesting in the beginning, but like I said, by the end, it was just like this choreographed dance where we just knew what they were doing. They knew what we were doing. But so it turned out to be pretty good.
And did any of those camera guys, I mean, they're not paranormal investigators, but did any of them have experiences that like freaked them out and
Oh yeah.
Most of mine.
Most of them did. In fact, I mean, we have tons of production crew stories of when something happened and it freaked them out. We had an audio guy at the Shreveport Municipal Auditorium. He was hearing things. They had the big boom mic and stuff, and he was hearing things through his headphones that he couldn't explain. And these are audio engineers, and they can't figure this. They hear voices that those voices aren't supposed to be there. And it got to a point where we were taking a break and he had to go to the restroom, and Barry and I he wanted me and Barry to go to the restroom with him down the hall to accompany him because he was scared to walk down the hall by himself. and things like this happen all the time.
Well, Heather is working on like making them or not a pseudoscience. I think you guys would be good together. What do you got going on, Heather?
Yeah, actually, I just want to say real quick, I mean, your show is what got me to switch in the paranormal field to think more scientifically and not just go out there and get the EVPs. And you guys were the turning point in my paranormal career. But right now we're working on, of course, diving into the different historical locations here in Florida. And like I had said, I want to take a more scientific approach in the aspect of adapting the scientific method to the field. Like I said, you can't get ghosts to act on command. So getting to repeat different, techniques won't always work. But just the fact that you can use the same technique over and over and get some type of result proves that technique might be a way to communicate with the paranormal. And it's a long road. And unfortunately, I know I'm probably not going to be able to manage it in this lifetime, but I truly do want to get the groundwork laid down for everybody to start realizing that there is some scientific value behind the field. And it's not just, the people going out and, antagonizing ghosts or trying to, get the latest and greatest evidence. It's more about finding why this is happening.
Yeah, we always got the bad rap about, because when they show a TV show, you see the highlights, because if we're there for 3 to 6 days and one half of an episode is like 23 minutes long. So they have to show the highlights, and they really liked it when we got rowdy and got loud. But there's actually a reason behind that, and that's what people will see that, and I get it. I still get it today. In fact, there was like a someone on Instagram from Sweden sent something just last week and said Brad is so disrespectful for the ghosts, and he, I'm not watching them anymore. It's like the show ended like 12 years ago, and you're just now watching them anyway. That's one thing. The other thing is that we talk about this all the time in our events, is that when you're dealing with the paranormal, the other side, the veil, the curtain, whatever you want to call it, you have to increase your odds of maybe being heard. Mm-hmm. So like we demonstrate this with a rope, like when you take a rope and there's two people on either end, like your kid, remember you pop the rope and the wave would go down the rope. The harder you hit it, the further the wave would go down the rope, right? Mm-hmm. If you just did it softly, it wouldn't even make it 2 or 3 feet. And that's the whole thing. Our voices are loud and we're boisterous anyway. So if we get louder, we're just we think that we increase the frequency and the amplitude of something to get past something to hear. Because when we hear EVPs, a lot of times they're very soft, they're very just distorted or whatever. And who's to say that that's just because it's not traveling through some sort of space and time dimension that's just causing the frequency to get distorted. We always say it's like if I lost a kid in the woods, would I go out in the woods and say, "Hey Jimmy, hey, it'd be great if you would let me know that you're around," or would you go, "Jimmy, if you can hear me"? It's not yelling at Jimmy, it's trying to get Jimmy to hear you, and that's what it was all about. But people,
and they need to realize there's a difference between being loud and actually antagonizing. Mm-hmm. And I didn't feel that at all with what you guys did. You guys were just trying to be heard.
Yeah. Well, it also goes to where you're at, because if we're in a prison or if we're at some place where antagonizing is kind of what they were used to, or that would get the rise, then we would do it. We don't go to grandma's house and bake cookies for the neighborhood kids and go, "Get out of here, you old bag." It's not. There's a time and a place.
Mm-hmm. You guys should have brewed some Pruno in Alcatraz. I bet that would have gotten all the ghosts' attention.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Along with some other things in Alcatraz, but
right.
I've only seen it from the outside, like
very
big old
cool
island
place
in the distance. That's cool.
It's ominous because when we went there, we had to, of course, couldn't take the ghost lab out there, but we took all of our gear, put it on a tugboat, and they took us across the bay. It was this heavy fog that's always in San Francisco mm-hmm. Bay. And we were pulling up, you couldn't see Alcatraz. Where's it at? All of a sudden the fog kind of cleared, and then just boom, there it was. I mean, you're looking up at it and you're going, holy cow, this is massive. And then when you get there, you have this series of switchbacks to climb all the way up to the top where the actual prison is. And we spent 3 nights there, and just the wind howling and the fog is like rain. It's a very unique place that is creepy as hell. And all night long you hear people yelling and doors slamming and
the fog horns in the bay. It's a very spooky place.
Would you stay there by yourself without, like, just you guys? That goes for all 3 of you.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
See, I'm the skeptic. I wouldn't.
See,
now are you skeptic or are you scared of shit?
Yeah, if you're a skeptic,
there's
why
two
aren't
different
you
things.
saying?
Yeah, skeptic, you would want to go there.
I've seen
try to
some
experience
kind of ghost shit. I'm just more, you guys keep your realm, I'll stay on mine.
Well, two questions for you guys, actually. One, you were doing your show around the same time that the Fox show Alcatraz was on the air, right?
We're Alcatraz was 2009.
Was it?
Our episode was 2009.
2009, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
first season.
You're on the air at the same time they're doing that, then. All right, because that I learned a lot about Alcatraz from watching that show, because it's based on somewhat fact. But second question: did you see any sharks around Alcatraz?
They got little baby sharks over there. Ask Heather about sharks.
No, but I tell you what, right there where we load the dock is all these freaking sea lions.
Yeah,
I mean, by the thousands of them just laying on the docks. But no, I didn't see any sharks.
The water though is real turbulent. Like it twists one way and goes the other, because right there at the Golden Gate Bridge. That's obvious. That's the entrance or you exit the bay to the Pacific Ocean. And the water's really, really cold. It's really, really turbulent. And they say there's a lot of sharks in there. We didn't see any.
Damn, that's surprising, especially with the amount of sea lions. You think there'd be sharks eating them?
No, I'm sure there's sharks in there. I
sure
would
they're
not
there.
doubt it. I wasn't going to jump in and find out.
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't either. I'm doing a shark movie
But-
bracket on my show, Paranormal Normal, next month, and I've been watching a lot of shark movies, so I ain't jumping in no fucking ocean.
Yeah,
anytime
but
soon.
the two that escaped from Alcatraz are the ones they never found. They ones that they blew up a raincoat. They sealed it with like glue, the model glue from those guys. They drowned. They did not make it to shore. They did in a little raft, and how
Shark
turbulent
food.
that water is. Nah,
Oh
they were
man, there's
gone.
been people who've swam that. Come on, they lived long, happy lives.
Well, when you're coming out of prison and you're not exactly
Not a
in
swimmer.
peak. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not in peak condition.
Oh,
I'm
they let
pretty
them
sure
have
didn't make it.
weights back then. Come on, now.
Nighttime.
Come on.
I mean, that's the one thing they freaking took from in the Alcatraz show, and they like twisted it, is that they made it that the one guy survived at least, and like,
Well, there's pictures actually of the two. I think they were brothers, possibly, where they're like over in South America. There's pictures of them, and they're the family of the ones that escaped. They're like dead set on that they actually made it. They're exhuming the possibly bodies to find out if it really was them. It was a pretty interesting show, but they say that they actually made it to South America and then lived till whenever. But
Better
so
story if they made it. That's a way better story.
they got to live with all the Nazis in South America. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Just from my perspective of seeing it, I would like, shit, I don't know.
you gotta have some balls.
Doesn't look
to
promising.
attempt it. Yeah, to attempt it, just to get in the water and try to do it. You guys.
I
have
mean,
cojones.
You got
That
life.
wa-
You're serving life, dude.
I mean, it's
Might
a
as
better
well
option than
try.
life. That's for damn sure. But I mean, you're jumping in that freezing ass
Three
cold
squares
water.
a day or shark food. No.
I mean, it's
Oh,
seriously, you're jumping that freezing ass cold water, and you're dealing with the possibility of getting eaten by a great white. Like, come on. now.
Yeah, the
Like,
great whites are in there certain times of the year. We got like little makos, and you'll be fine.
dude, I wouldn't fuck with a
You'll be
mako even.
fine.
Like, sharks are hungry. They'll eat you. They'll take a bite out of you no matter what the fuck they are. Like,
Didn't you
A
hear
whale
they,
shark
they
will
had a
swallow you.
wrap?
The ones we have in
Quite a
Texas, the
wrap.
bull sharks, they're the most aggressive, and we have those
Oh,
all over the
yeah.
Texas coast.
Yeah, no, but I think San Francisco, it's pretty like they're only there for a short amount of time, right? It's too cold for bull
I
sharks.
believe in the spring to fall time they're there. But
You know
yeah.
what I'm going to do after that? I'm going to go and I'm going to look at great white shark tracking in San Francisco. I'm sure I can find something. Now I'm curious.
I've seen great whites like from the pier. I haven't personally. I've seen it on YouTube. Let's get that clear. But yeah, no, there have been great whites. So, and I know nothing about this case. I don't know when they left, what time of year, what sharks are there. So, I'm just trying to be an optimist. They made it.
And is that the most haunted location you've ever been to, or is there?
No. Yeah, I would say probably one of the most haunted places, but we've been to other places we've been to houses that are just off the chain, lots of activity comparable to say an Alcatraz. But I would think just for the ambiance and just that being there, just having that sensation was pretty cool. But like we've been to houses around the area. We've been to a place called Helena, Texas, which is an old ghost town. We got some crazy activity. We've slept at Lizzie Borden's house.
Ooh, that's near
Ooh,
me.
That's cool.
We've done insane asylums and hospitals and all the typical places that you see.
What
But
about the Cecil? Were you there? Because that's
I
a
was
cool
not.
No,
building.
in LA now.
What?
Be a good one.
All right, I always ask this question on my show for people who are investigators, but what was the scariest freaking thing you had happen to you during all your investigations? Like, what was the thing that actually almost had you like going full Scooby-Doo and running out?
Well, it's hands down Helena, Texas. We actually we're working on a podcast right now, and one of our pilot episode we kind of talk about this, but it's just a Reader's Digest version. So there's an old ghost town south of here, down in Carson City. We live in San Antonio, down in South Texas. Back in the day, it was like a no law, kind of like a Tombstone, no law, gunfights, hangings, murders, just all the typical badness. And there's a mansion there. They call it the Founder's Mansion. The guy that founded it, his last name was Ruckman. This family
I've heard of it.
Founded Helena. So there's down, it's still there. So that Founders Mansion, the original courthouse, there's some other outcrop buildings that are there, the cemetery, all there. They have it fenced and you can take tours. Brad and I went down there, we investigated, we got access actually to the Founders Mansion. It was me, Brad, and if you know Johnny Hauser from the Villisca Axe House, he came down, was hanging out with us. And we went there one night, we filmed some stuff, and while we were there, it was probably 12 midnight, 1 a.m. We hear this voice that sounded like Beelzebub himself coming out the floorboards. Just, I mean, just like we all heard it with our ears. We're like, what the hell was that? And it was, I mean, just it freaked us out. And so we had all of our audio going. We went home. When I get home, Brad lived on the same street as me. I dropped him off. I went around the corner. I pulled in my driveway. Johnny Hauser's with me. I put my truck in park. I take the key out, and inside my truck, you hear in my truck. And we're like, me and Johnny are just like saucer eye looking like, what the fuck was that? We looked around. There's no recorders. There's no equipment. There's no nothing. We're bailing out of the truck. We're like, what was that? It's the same dude we heard in Helen an hour, 2 hours away. So Brad also has some experience.
Dude.
In my truck.
Your truck.
In the truck.
In the cabin of the truck.
But the cool thing is the next morning we listened to the audio that we caught the night before, and we get to the spot and it doesn't go like we heard it. It clearly says on the tape, it says, I'm going to kill you before you leave. It says, I'm going to kill you before you leave. And we're like,
burnt that fucking
okie
truck to
dokie.
the ground, right? Right there.
We went after.
We went
more.
back.
It also told me to fucking get out of here. That we caught several nasty EVP, but it gets even better. So fast forward 6 or 7 years after that experience, my brother and I, my uncle passed away down the Rio Grande Valley. Brad and I were pallbearers, and we were at the cemetery, the family plot. We're kind of just looking around. My grandma was buried there, and her mother and dad, and we looked, and there was a tombstone that said Ruckman. And I'm like, at the time, I just forgot. I was just on the way back, and I was like, ding, 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 Ruckman. That's the dude that was in that Founders Mansion. Well, guess what? That guy's our great, great, great uncle. We're related to him. He's family. Yeah, we did not know it at the time until we found out 6 or 7 years later. He is our relative. So
we were in his house.
We were in his house.
But here's the question: so, do you own the Founders Mansion then? Like,
No,
you should inherit it.
There's still Ruckmans that live there. They still live in Karn City, and that whole family. But there's probably 5 or 6 more things to that story that we tell on the podcast. Like I said, that was the Reader's Digest version. But there's just about the town, the stories, and who that could have been. We get into all of that.
How long did you wait to get into the truck, knowing that the thing is in the truck? Like,
we hop right back in it. We talked about it, after we got out of the truck for quite a while in my house. He was staying with me, but it's just like I've never had that. I've never had. I mean, I'm sure we had things follow us home, but I've never had that to where, without a doubt, that voice came from the same person that was 2 hours away. So
that's pretty creepy. Yeah,
it's pretty cool. It freaked us out.
What about you, Heather?
Yeah, it's hard to pick your favorite one, I guess you would say, because
Scariest.
I always do all experiences as like my children.
Yeah, I get that. I guess. Yeah, I get that.
I guess one of the most memorable ones, and the one that freaked me out the most, and opened my eyes to the paranormal a lot more than it already was. We were filming in the Florence Mine, which is up in Goldfield, and we were filming for a pilot TV show. And there was a collapsed area of a tunnel of the mine, and only myself and one of the cameramen could fit back there. So I was like, okay, stupid me volunteered to go back there because something was calling me to go back there. And we went as far as we could because it had collapsed, and we were like right there where it was. And after the mine had collapsed, we found out later that they hadn't done anything to it. So there's still the possibility that there's bodies still buried there because they weren't able to get everybody out. And what was only like 5 minutes felt like hours for me. I started during an EVP session. I couldn't talk. I started crying. I felt like I had pressure on my chest, like I was being crushed. And then all of a sudden I started hearing men screaming and crying. And I couldn't, when they realized I couldn't breathe, the camera guy was like, come on. And he kind of shooed me out. And the minute I got like 5 feet away from that collapsed section, I was perfectly fine. And it was the weirdest, that's the first time I ever had a physical reaction to paranormal activity in an area. And that just kind of freaked me out for a while.
Kind of sounds like the schools up in Deborah's neighborhood of Canada, the native schools that they sent all the natives to, that they just found the mass graves of behind a couple years ago.
Mhm.
I want to have a paranormal investigator go up there and like see if they catch anything, because there's got to be some residual freaking shit up there. Like there has to be.
Yeah,
Deborah,
definitely
get busy, Deborah.
Yeah, and this part of Goldfield, I mean, the mine, in addition to Goldfield having its floods and fires, the mine had 2 fires, several deaths on the property. And like I had said, the part of the mine collapsed and they don't have a number of how many people are actually still buried there. And this happened in the 30s.
That happens a lot though, like from like that time era. Like there's a lot of cave-ins that they can't still get bodies from. Like it's just they're not going to expand the money nowadays to go do that. Like it's just not worth anybody's dollar to go dig these skeletons out.
Yeah. And are you a bit of a medium then? Like, because that is, you're picking up, that's,
Right. I never viewed myself as that, but the more I've been talking to other mediums and other psychics, I have tendencies and abilities, but I've just never focused it, because we can go to a location and I can clearly see, apparitions or shadow figures, and someone standing right next to me, is like, what are you looking at? And they don't see or hear what I hear. And I'm more into the scientific and research aspect of it. So I can never go to a location cold, not knowing any of the history about it. I need to know information before I go. So even if I was, and I would make a terrible, terrible psychic, because I would research beforehand.
But all right, well, actually, let me ask all three of this, because I just brought up a interesting theory I've had for a long time now that I always bring up in my show. And I brought up in this show at one point, I'm pretty sure. But I have a theory that there was an evolution to being a ghost. Just like there is to being a human, we grow through different phases. So when you first die, you're a misty, foggy type of apparition because you can't figure out how to do anything yet. You're like a baby ghost, in a lack of terms. And then the next step is you can do a shadow figure, like a shadow person, because and people completely disagree with me on this before. So if you do, don't feel bad. But there's the next step in my theory is you're a shadow person because you could develop your shape somewhat, but you can't fully look like what you used to look like or what you want to look like. And then the final stage is the full body apparition, where you can look like whatever you want to look like. Like you can look up, like you can look like yourself when you're alive, or you can look like anything else you want to look like to scare people.
Well, why are you trying to scare people, dude?
Dude, if I was a ghost, I'd be trying to scare my wife to death. Like, come on.
But
like, join me.
What I'm saying is, like, are ghosts in the 3rd dimension, or do we go backwards to the 2nd dimension? Do we go to the 4th dimension?
Scott,
are these accidental meetings? Like, what's going on here?
Scott, according to people I talk to who are lucid dreamers / astral projectionists, there are 11 or 15 dimensions, depending on who you talk to. So
infinite amount of dimensions, dude.
I've heard there's a specific number in the teens multiple times, but it's just, I mean, that's what I've heard. I don't have no proof to go by, but that's what I've heard by multiple people. So I got kind of got to go with what they believe because they experience it. So I mean, who knows what dimension they're in at that point? But I mean, I don't know. That's just my theory. I want to hear what our guests think of it.
My theory is on the full-bodied apparition, and from what we've seen, is those are all residual. The reason we say that is because it's always, it's like, do ghosts wear clothes? Do they have their hair in a bun? Do they, it's they're in period dress. They're walking in the same areas that they did. So we think that that's just a replay on the environment. That's almost like like an EVP,
like a shadow,
not a shadow, like almost like a film projector, like a colored film projector that can reflect, and the recording can come on the environment. We've done studies on EVPs where there's intelligent EVPs, and there's the residual ones where it's like you're recording in the environment, you record in the walls and the rock and the minerals, and there's electricity and there's sound vibrations that could it's like a needle on a record sometimes, and you're lucky and you get just a portion of a conversation or a word. Same thing with the full bodied apparitions is that that same recording can be seen. We think that the shadows are the more intelligent ones because it is an
They interact
intelligent,
and they move.
yeah, they interact and those are the one, and they actually are cold. We've done investigations where we caught a shadow person pop up on a thermal camera in a room that was like 87 degrees. It was very, very hot room. It was the middle of summer in San Antonio, and this thing was 35 degrees Fahrenheit, like a perfect 35 degrees Fahrenheit that radiated equally out into the environment. So it's not like, like if it's a glass of water, an ice tea or something that would be different temperature variations on the glass it was completely equal. So we think that that's basically the intelligent energy that's trying to manifest, and it's using the heat, that's using the energy in the environment to manifest, and it's drawing it in like a black hole. So that coldness that's causing is actual visual, and that's why you see the shadow. It's usually not a shadow is not like, you don't see the shadow like it's the perfect silhouette of a person. The shadow is usually like a blobby shadow or something like that.
I mean, in my house alone, we have at least one spirit living in my house, if not two, because it was a married couple that lived here and built the house before we moved in, and they died before we moved in. But my wife and her sister have both seen a full shadow person, like fully outlined like a person, about the same height the guy who lived here before was supposed to be. And he also has killed chickens in our garage when we first moved in, before we moved the chickens out of the garage because they were getting slaughtered left and right. But
How many chickens do you eat, dude? Give me a break. Hey,
got
chicken
nothing.
sandwiches.
We don't eat these
Slaughtering
chickens. We eat their eggs. That's all we eat of them is their eggs. We let them live a long, happy life, and then when they die of old age, they die of old age. But it's just we don't slaughter chickens because I don't have the heart to kill a chicken or any animal for that matter. But
Yeah,
that's why I don't go hunting. But
and and paranormal is just it's all about experience. It's all about what you experience and what you document and what you correlate and things like that. And these are we base, just like any scientist, or you base your theories off of what you are getting, the results that you're getting. You form a hypothesis, you experiment, you get a result.
Of course, I mean, what the reason that this ties in is because what you said about the temperature thing. There's sometimes where like part of our living room, or if you're standing in a part of the house, sometimes it gets, even if the house is at 60 degrees according to the thermostat or 70 degrees according to the thermostat, it is freezing in this one part of the house, like to the point where you're shivering. And that's why, like the thing you said with like 35 degrees, like I'm like, ooh, that makes sense. Cause I've kind of had that happen where I'm like sitting in my living room and all of a sudden it feels like something freezing sat next to me and like, or standing next to me. And I'm just like shivering. I'm like, why am I shivering? It's the middle of summer. Like,
yeah. And a
like
lot
my
of
house,
you can actually
house
put your hand, you can put your hand in these cold spots too, and you can kind of feel them, and you can feel them moving throughout a room. If you can't see it, sometimes you can actually feel a cold spot moving around.
I mean, I've never seen it, but I'm not sensitive to anything. And unfortunately, I mean, I'm just more of a lover of the paranormal than an actual experiencer, because I never experienced pretty much anything. My wife is a sensitive one, so she tells me if there's like standing right behind me or something. But I'll get
wife
cold.
Is the sensitive one too, and I tell her to knock that shit off, dude. Because every time she gets curious, more shit starts happening.
I think you're just scared.
Well, what do you guys think this is? Do you think it's like demons or like souls of people who passed, fourth dimensional people? Do you think we're in a simulation and this is just like a glitch or two simulations getting together? Like,
God, that's like 20 questions in one right there, man. Come on.
Well, no, I want to know from these three, like, what do you think a ghost is?
Energy.
That's all energy. It's all the above. Energy can be in the form of multidimensional. It can be in the form of intelligence. It can be in the form of residual. It can be, but it's all based on energy.
Do you think ChatGPT is getting some energy out there by now, or that's going to be possible in the future?
Say that again.
If ChatGPT or like an AI simulation, do you think they'll be able to cloud our world with ghosts? Or
any frequency that occurs in this environment can cause that. So whether it's generated
like
by
now,
AI,
I'm in my house right now. I could be creating a haunting. Yeah. I'm just talking right now. I could be recording my conversation right now in the metal and in the different things in my house, materials, And who knows, 10 years from now, I don't live here. Some guy's in here with a recorder and he hears me talking. He hears me say a word like residual, or, hey, I got an EDP. Some guy said the residual. Well, it was me. For
But that's-
example,
That's what you guys were saying with the like they're the ones that interacted with you, and then like what you're saying is more of like kind of a shadow type thing.
well, so like if you believe in the law of conservation of energy, back in middle school you learn where it cannot be created nor destroyed is transfer. So let's say,
Einstein.
so when you
Yeah.
die, your body runs off electricity. The synapses in your brain, your heart fires on electricity. So if you believe in that, you got to believe in that theory.
You have to believe in it. It's scientific
So
law.
when you right,
Seriously,
you believe
it's
in it.
scientific
when you
law. Who doesn't
die,
believe in
so
it?
when your physical shell quits and you die, your energy's got to go somewhere. It's got to transfer somewhere. Does it?
And it can't be destroyed.
Right. Does it transfer to the environment to be played back later? Does it transfer, whatever? And you have free will right now. So I can move my hand. I could look over here. I could do whatever I want because of free will. Does your energy still have free will to be able to talk to you, to be able to manipulate things in the environment, to be a ghost per se?
There's a different realm of physics that it operates in, which is what I think, Jeremy, what you're talking about. It's kind of not of maybe a learned thing, but if it's the same intelligence, but you get to play on a different level of physics.
I mean, to me, I think once you, in my personal opinion, I mean, I'm a huge believer in reincarnation, but so I think a lot of spirits get reincarnated, and that's why you don't see like just land of spirits everywhere in America from all the people that died in America for the last 300 years. And it'd be even worse in Europe and other countries in Africa and all that. But I mean, it's just that's where I think a lot of the spirits go, is the energy, the spirits go to another body. I mean, we've done episodes on reincarnation on this show, and I fully believe in it because it's just too many stories out there that to prove it's not real. But I mean, the ones that don't go anywhere, the ones that are stuck for some reason or another because they're attached to something or whatnot. Like, I think once you die, you can, yeah, right, Moose. But once you die, you can go to different dimensions, and you could you can travel. It may take you a little while to learn how to do it, but you can travel to different dimensions, and you could see different things, and you could go show yourself in different ways once you're in those different dimensions. And maybe that's part of being the evolution of a ghost. But I still haven't heard what Heather thinks of my theory, and I'm dying to know.
Well, hopefully everything that I'm thinking about right now comes out, and I don't forget something. But yeah, I mean, the evolution of a ghost does make sense to a point. But I do agree with that. The full-bodied apparitions and the clear things that we can see are usually residual, especially from my past experiences. But when it comes to shadow people, one thing I've discovered is I think that, and I've heard this from a couple other people too, is when the ghosts first appear to you, you don't see them as people. You see the shadow only because you don't know what they look like, because you've never met them before. And because we actually investigated a location over and over, it's kind of like where we held our training at. And the more we started going there, I would see the same apparitions. They were shadow people, but you could tell they were like FLDS members because they had the women had the full attire and everything. And then over time, I could start seeing the color of their clothing. And, it just eventually, it was almost like they got to know me, and so they started revealing themselves to me. So I think knowing the spirits has a little bit to do with it as well. And getting back to the chat GPT or the AI stuff, I think that's going to eventually, if it's misused or overused, it's going to lead to thought forms, or like the creepypastas that are out there, Slender Man, the Rake,
See, that's
and all of those.
The Rake is not a creepypasta. The Rake inspired a creepypasta, but it's not a creepypasta.
Oh, you didn't want to do a video on Slender Man, Jim the Crickets. My kids would have been so psyched.
Dude, we can do. I did a creepypasta episode of my show. Let your kids listen to that. But I mean, I had my friend's like 15-year-old daughter on it because she knew creepypasta better than anybody I ever met, and like we did a whole episode of like her top 10 creepypasta creations, and of course Slender Man was on it. But
AI freaks me out, dude, because like if that does form consciousness, that is kind of like a
Terminator,
stereotypical ghost, right? It's just out there doing
Energy.
what they do. And how many of them are there? Like
that's like a what do you call it? A topa, like a golem, Like that's
Yep.
what that's
Well,
what I want to be.
that's what she was saying. Like, they
Yeah, I
can
mean,
create
it's gonna be like a
tulpa.
tulpa or a golem. It's like whatever people. I mean, next thing you know, we're gonna be seeing Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees walk down the street because that's the horror stuff that most people believe in, is that type of stuff. So
Well, people are already seeing the Annabelle, not the Raggedy Ann version. They're seeing the Annabelle that was featured in the movies.
Oh.
There's reports of people claiming that
Well,
they're
that's-
seeing her.
You
And
got to
that's
see the Raggedy Ann version, dude. Come on, that's way
yeah,
scarier.
we've done social experiments on in different settings where we bring a group of people in and we tell them some bullshit story. We're in a haunted location and
Mhm.
we purposely tell them a bullshit story about the ghost in the house. You know, it's this, it's that. And the people that they're looking for that, and they're so focused and their energy is so focused on that they start experiencing the bullshit that we just gave them in the form. They would actually get EVPs and stuff that we were listening to that supported. And what it is that their energy is so high that they are self-manifesting that stuff in the environment that other people can experience. So that's kind of the same concept with the AI thing, that, you know, that learned intelligence can start projecting its energy into the environment. Then it can create, you know, something like that.
Well, see,
That's like poltergeist activity too, right? Like poltergeist that's often around
Right.
like teenagers with a whole bunch of emotion and whatever, and it
well,
creates this whole.
are you sure you got the right?
realism.
Are you sure you're going out the right movie there, Deborah? Because I mean,
I'm not
Poltergeist
talking
was
about movies.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, I'm like,
Well, that's
because
that's
gonna
what
say,
I was gonna say. That the like, if you would tell them this bullshit story and then they would see like the actual haunting that was supposed to occur, that would be like fucking amazing. But if they are starting to see the shit that you projected into their head, do you think that's a demon or a ghost? Like,
well,
I think it's power of suggestion. It's a human,
Yeah.
it's a human psychological thing, but the psyche is so powerful that if they really believe it and there's a group of people, that they could actually project that into the environment.
but do you
Well-
think it's a good energy or a bad energy?
It could be
right?
both.
Could be both.
well,
hmm
to piggyback on Scott's question there, do you think there's actually a thing as such as demons and angels? Like, do you actually think like the good and the bad of the underworld, overworld exists? Like,
I think that,
I mean, we can't go into that until you really like answer that question.
well, the basis of all human living is good versus evil.
Well,
So,
yeah, but I mean,
and whatever
but-
and whatever level that exists, then that's there.
Yeah.
Vegas
and
hell,
every,
dude. Vegas hell.
and every
So
religion
as a
has.
Christian, as a Christian, I believe if you believe in angels, you got to believe in demons. It's the, you know, it's one for the other. So yeah, but I think the whole demon thing gets such a bad rap, and because that sells tickets, and people don't care about hearing about grandma baking the cookies. They want to hear a freaking demon, what they think is a
Yeah.
demon, and that's what sells tickets, and that's what sells ratings and all that. So the whole demon thing is all just a bunch of bullshit, really. And so,
Well,
but they are there. I mean, yeah, I would say, like I said, I believe there could be demonic activity, but is it all? We've never experienced that. We've been
Okay.
to
well,
thousands
Like-
of places.
That
let me put it this
knows
way.
my question.
One of the first guests on my show, Paranormal Normal, like 4 or 5 episodes in, Christopher Susi. He is a film director or writer, but he in his lifetime, and between his military time and his time helping cops out because he's a medium as well, he supposedly has seen the devil 3 times / heard the devil. And one was in, God, I'm gonna fuck this up, but Uruguay, I want to say, somewhere in South America, in El Canyon de Tio, Uncle's Canyon. Like they call him Tio, but on the side of the mountain is painted like a big, what we would call Satan. And it was once down there. It was once somewhere else too. I can't freaking think of it, but there's also once in New Orleans. Oh yeah, and then the second 2 times were in New Orleans because he lives in New Orleans, and he saw this guy get out of a cab, and this guy didn't look human, and he was sniffing around like a dog or like a.
That's just New Orleans.
Yeah, buddy.
But I mean,
half the
that's
people.
Bourbon Street,
But I mean,
I
you
think
gotta
the
listen to him.
devil would look like Fabio, dude. He'd be walking around in his tight little
Dude.
denims.
Scott,
hair
you have
flopping
a heart. I
back.
swear to God, you have a freaking stiffy for Fabio. I can't explain it, but
Yeah, I look just like him, dude. Come on.
no,
now.
you don't.
It's the
But
flowing locks.
maybe 20 years ago, Scott. But the third time was when he was helping cops investigate this abandoned house in New Orleans, and the one cop, actually both the cops say they saw or heard something in the house that matched up with what he says, and they like he ran to them later, like he talked to them about it because they both ran out of there, and like they went down to like traffic patrol because they didn't want to have to deal with that anymore.
Did the cops tell you this story or just this nutbag you met on the internet?
Dude, no, I didn't. Chris is actually one of the most trustworthy guys I've ever had on my podcast, and I trust him fully. Like the way he tells things, like there's no way in hell he's making.
Dude,
this shit
my
up. Like,
uncle will tell you that he is Jesus Christ, and Madonna's real name is Lori, and she's Mary Magdalene. He will convince you. 100%. There are some
Well, bring
crazy
your-
nut jobs out there.
Bring your uncle on next month, then, Scott. Bring your uncle on. But
Oh, you want me
So
to bring my
here's
uncle?
a question, you guys. Do you think sometimes, we're talking about whether they appear in full body apparition or just a blob of a myself, I always like feel, I get a sense of something, I'll get a taste and I can feel the presence of something, but I don't see an apparition or anything. But do you think that they're getting your attention, just like Brad was saying, you get loud to get their attention? Maybe they're communicating with us, trying to, present the way they think they can get through to us. So sometimes they'll present as a full body apparition because they know you can actually communicate that way, see it, versus sounds or whatever. What do you think
And
about
sometimes they'll punch you in the face because it's like if they manifest enough energy, and that's how they're trying to get.
And that's how
Imagine
they're
trying to
getting-
talk to someone and they can't hear you. It's like, man, I can get enough energy, I can smack this person. It's not a demon, it's
Yeah.
just someone trying to get your attention.
Yeah, right. So it's
That
less
makes me
about their
scared.
abilities and it's more about how your abilities, like how you are able to receive, and they're going to try every way to get your attention because they want to be heard.
well, as a Christian, Barry, have you actually ever tried like holding a cross against one of these things to see what it does?
When I say Christianity, I'm not a Catholic
Catholic
or I'm,
priest.
I'm a
Mhm.
I believe in God, and I've grown up in the church, and I have my convictions, grace and mercy and things like that. But it's like, but if you believe, like you said, if you believe in one thing, you have to believe in the other. But I really think, in all the years Brad and I have done this, maybe we have contacted the devil. Couldn't tell you whether or not. But another thing too, when you're talking about other people's experiences or other people's evidence, it's hard. We want to believe them. Yeah, that sounds great. But in reality, we really don't, Brad and I don't go on anything unless we catch it, unless we hear it, unless we see it, because we get all the time at conventions and events, hundreds of people come up, hey, check out this picture, check out this. And, I'll give my honest opinion, what I think it is, or what based on my experience. A lot of people get pissed off because no, it's a ghost. No, it's a freaking ghost that I caught. Well, it can be a ghost, but it also could be this. And I try to explain it as nice as possible, but people are not, they don't want to hear that.
The bottom line is I wasn't there.
That's what
So
we
it's
say.
like, I cannot
wasn't there.
give you.
I don't know. I don't know what camera you're using. I don't know the angle. I don't know who else was there. I don't know if there's your cousin Bobby was behind there, or I don't know the situation. So I cannot give you an honest answer. I can only give you an answer based on things that I've caught similar or other experiences I've had similar. So we kind of shy away from self-diagnosing pictures and other people's evidence.
As you should. I mean, I would too if I was an investigator, but
so your friend with the devil, hey, he may saw the devil.
Well,
I don't know.
I mean,
She's up enough nights, you'll see the devil every night.
every interview I did for my podcast,
Been there, done that.
Every interview I did except for my podcast, except the first two, I'm looking the people in the eyes as they tell these stories. I'm hearing their tone of voice, and that's why I base everything
What I'm
off
telling
of.
you about my uncle, dude.
But I mean,
I will tell you a
That's what
story.
I'm telling you about my
I'll
uncle.
tell you one story. So the same company the same production company that did Ghost Lab, they did Paranormal State. All those camera guys, same show, producers. There was an episode on Paranormal State called I Am Six. It was about this girl that was possessed.
Mm-hmm.
Now these guys, these camera guys and audio, they're all skeptics. They're just there to do a job. They don't believe in this crap. They just film it and go home. They were in this town. They called a priest in to do an exorcism, and this girl in a bathtub. They said that when the priest walked in and started, all of a sudden the sky got black, like these gigantic black clouds rolled in. The church bell starts tolling for no reason. It's not supposed to go off. It's like car alarms on the street are starting to go off, and these camera guys and these film guys are freaking out. They're like, what the hell? What have we got ourselves into? So was it some sort of demonic activity? Possibly. I don't know.
I mean,
but these people are like pretty like, I don't believe in any of that crap, but they were freaked out to the point
You,
where like,
you said Paranormal State,
Paranormal State.
and that's
I'm a-
Discovery. Do you
No,
have
they were on
A&E.
A&E.
A&E?
Oh,
Do
well.
you have any season or?
Just look up I Am Six.
It's called
That's the name
I
of it.
Am
It's called
Six.
I Am
Yeah.
Six.
I mean, I was gonna
Okay,
say,
I'm
I'm like,
gonna
if it's
look
on,
that one
I'm
up.
gonna say, if it's on Discovery Plus just got bought by HBO, so HBO Max and Discovery Plus are becoming
It was
one
on.
app
It was
now.
they were on A&E.
But I mean, stuff like that you can't. When skeptics, especially, say stuff like that happens, I have to believe it because I just like they're not going to say that stuff unless they really witnessed it. Like, especially if they're skeptics. I mean, that'd be like Scott telling me that something happened like that when he
Dude,
was around.
When we
Oh.
did our ghost stories, you let me get through one of them. Like, I've had some shit happen and I'm still a skeptic.
Well, I
We-
mean, you could be. Well, Scott, that's just your prerogative. That's your prerogative, man. I'm down with that. That's you. But
But something
mean-
like that, multiple people are hearing the church bells.
Oh no, I've been
sky
there
go
where
dark and stuff. Like,
I haven't
multiple
seen the
fucking
episodes.
people,
I'm not
dude.
sure what they caught on film, but this is just the stories that we got
Well,
from
I
people
remember.
that we believe.
Yeah, and they were telling us that she was in the bathtub and like all of a sudden that she got like pushed under the water and like they 6 guys trying to pull this girl from up under the water. They had to pull the plug to drain the water because they couldn't get her out. Barry and I met this girl because we were in Carbondale, Illinois, filming Ghost Lab, and it was near there, and the crew was with us. So the girl came to a Pizza Hut that we were eating at, and she was talking to the crew. Probably the smallest. She's probably 80 pounds soaking wet.
Freakish, pale white, just.
There's no way.
I
that
really
6
think
guys could not
there's,
handle that.
Some sort of either like intelligence or some sort of disability or something. It was a strange person.
I mean,
See,
but people.
that's fucking dope. You guys need to get like
Yeah.
both teams need to get them on your show and like end the fucking skeptic film people, right? Like bring them on your podcast. I want to listen to that shit.
Seriously, I mean that'd be awesome, but I mean, see, but exorcism, like possessions, always seem to happen to people like that, though. Like someone who's me, like almost 300 pounds now, and like even when I was like 400 pounds, like someone like me that looks like me is not going to get fucking possessed because they see no use in my body, they see no use in me. Like, but for some
Never
reason they
say
choose.
never.
Oh, if it happens, it happens, and my kids better run away fearing that. But I mean, I don't see it happening ever. I am not a religious person by any freaking means. I think you have to be religious for that stuff to happen. I think you have to be religious, and somehow a
Really?
demon wants to get. I think a demon has to want to get in because you're religious. Like that's my opinion. Like because they want to corrupt you because of your faith. Like that's what it is. Like I don't think it's just they want to get in someone who doesn't believe because what are they going to corrupt? They're going to corrupt my ability to smoke weed or drink or drink. Like what the hell are they going to
Well, they're
corrupt?
there to create chaos, right?
Yeah.
Like
Well,
And
but-
every religion, even pagans and some of the ancient religions, they all
Yeah.
have some rite of exorcism, even if it's not a true demon.
well,
And so it's kind of tough on that one because, like you said, they want to cause chaos,
well, they
Yeah.
do,
and
but I mean,
regardless of your beliefs.
I know, but I mean, that's the thing, though. It always seems to happen to people who are religious. Like in every documentary I've seen about it, like or any story I've heard about it, it's always people who have some kind of religious belief that it happens to because they have a way in that. If you don't,
but is
have
that
religion,
maybe because the religion teaches them to be fearful of like
Yes,
demons
yes,
or whatever? So
yes.
it's the
When
fear
we-
that they're able to get in.
when
Yeah,
we
right.
did our exorcism episode,
yeah.
there were 1,000 times more Muslim exorcisms than there are Christian exorcisms. Like
Well,
when they would exorcise people in like you know, Iraq, they would do it by the thousands. It's just like what people believe in. But like the actual people who are being exorcised, like that's always one hit wonder, man. Like the ones that actually get to you, it's like, how the fuck did this happen?
No,
mean,
it's 99% of them are just to have a mental disorder. But
Yeah.
it's that 1%, you know, like this one, there's other stories they told us about this particular case that they just couldn't believe that you have to, you know, you have to consider that. You have to consider the
Yeah.
witnesses.
that too,
Yeah,
but
no, I don't think you have to be religious to be like
hey,
actually possessed.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not an expert in it by any fucking means. Don't get me wrong. I've only seen documentaries, and I hate movies like that because they make the
Jeremy
truth
gets
seem even
scared.
weaker. No, not at all. But literally nothing scares me. I mean, but oh yeah, whoever brought up FLDS, we did a cult. Yeah, we did a Colts bracket last week, and FLDS won the Colts bracket. So just want to throw that out there.
Did it?
Yeah.
Yeah, FLDS won.
That's probably part of me.
Because
I
we
mean-
did a lot of investigations at a former Mormon fort when they came through Vegas and they set up camp there. I did a deep dive into that religion so that way I could help communicate better with the people that we were investigating and trying to communicate with.
Have you ever heard how fucked up those kids' lives are?
Mhm.
Like, because I live in Utah right now, so I started researching them a lot. And like, there was this one kid that I was listening to, and he's out of the FLDS cult. And he said that he thought his oldest brother was his dad until he was like 15 when he started working for his dad.
Mhm.
And then he came out of it. He had 102 brothers and sisters. 102,
Mhm.
dude.
Those Mormons
that's
get down.
fucking
They get down.
nuts.
They get down the sack, man. Mormons get down.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, we actually have, we did a spirit box session, and then upon reviewing it later on, and we also have an EVP from the location we investigated. One of the investigators said, "Who is the current president?" And the response was Jeff's. And this old location was an actual Mormon fort up until the mid-90s. So if
Yeah,
these
Jeff's just
spirits
been
are
down
from
for
the
a while.
80s, yeah, if they are from the 80s, they would have thought Rulon Jeffs was their president. And, you know, the other investigators is, oh, they don't know what they're talking about. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, no, wait a minute.
no.
You got to know the history.
But I mean,
They've all moved to Colorado and Arizona by now.
I thought it was just ironic that like you brought up FLDS and they won a cult bracket last week out of like 34 colts.
Yeah.
So
Perfect timing.
it really is synchronicities. They exist,
Mhm.
but all right. So I asked my one question I asked everybody that investigates or mediums, like what's the most crazy, scariest thing you ever done? What was the moment that brought you the most like joy or happiness out of all the investigations you've done? Like what made you actually like almost come to tears out of happiness because of something? Like a lot of people say it's like making someone pass on to the other side that deserve to pass on or something like that. But like, what was yours? Like, I want to hear from all three of you.
You guys want to go first or you want me to go first?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, we've heard at least from you, so go ahead, Heather.
It's our family vacations were always we loved the Civil War sites. So we lived in Illinois, we'd drive down to Florida and drive up the East Coast, and we'd always end our vacation in Gettysburg. And one day I was a photography student at the time. I was wandering around Devil's Den area. And I had I thought at the time, I didn't realize it was a spirit. I had a Confederate soldier walk by me, full attire. I thought he was a person. He looked that clear, and he tipped his hat to me. So he acknowledged that I was there, and he kept walking by. And I'm like, I need to get a photo of this guy. You know, he looks so cool. And I ran around the boulder where he walked to, and he was just gone. 100% completely gone. And I checked everywhere. I checked in the crevices, wherever you could see, and I would have seen him running off, or he would have been somewhere. So at that point in time, I realized, holy crap, I think I just might have run into a Confederate spirit. And when I was doing more research on it after I got home, I came across Matthew Brady's soldier of the sniper at Devil's Den, and it was him. And once I put the connection of who I saw and that photo, it just, that was almost an aha moment. And, you know, brought me to tears, because not so much to tears, but just made me so happy that I was able to make that connection.
That's
We're gonna-
that's
we're
pretty
gonna-
that's pretty cool.
We're gonna segue off of you. Actually,
Yeah,
into
we're
another
talking about a
Devil's Den.
Devil's Den experience too.
So, you know, 2 Octobers ago, Brad and I, my son, went to we did an event at Hoover House, and we went to Antietam, and we go to Gettysburg every year, pretty much. Been there a million times. It's our favorite place to go. We went and we did the, you know, course of the regulars and Little Round Top and Devil's Den and all that, and Antietam. And along Antietam, we caught some really cool EVPs. And at Devil's Den, we were there. I had my recorder, and I stuck my recorder down the very top. I was at the very top rock, and I put my hand down this crevice, and I just started talking. Hey, is there anybody here? Any soldiers? How about any Confederate soldiers? And this voice goes, run. It says, just told us to run. Oh, really cool. So we left there. We went to Pickett's Charge. We caught some other EVPs there. We caught the Rebel Yell on audio. We caught a cannon fire. Went home, and we have a friend of ours in Chicago. She does a lot of our family. We're starting to get into a whole ancestry.com stuff, and we're doing our family tree. And that's when we found out that my great-great-grandfather, J.A. Gorham, and his brother, well, actually both his brothers, they fought for the Confederacy out of Georgia. They were in every major battle: Antietam, Gettysburg, Chickamauga, all the 7 Days campaign. They were in Petersburg. And they also fought all the way. His uncle made it all the way to Appomattox, surrendered at Appomattox. Well, kind of find out that where we were at Devil's Den, that's where they fought. They were a part of Benning's brigade under General Longstreet, and his detachment, the 17th Georgia and the 20th Georgia, they were in the same brigade, different infantry units. They took and captured Devil's Den. And so, could it have been my grandfather telling us to run? You know, probably not. But it's pretty cool going, I'm standing where my grandfather.
No, we didn't know at the time.
We didn't know at the time. We're like, I'm standing right here 160 plus years ago, whatever it is, right here where he was. So that led us to last year. We did a trip all through Virginia. We went to every battle that they were at. And we got the Rangers to actually get their secret maps out. It shows all the infantry units were at the time. We stood in these places. The coolest thing is, it's a long story.
Knock it off.
Their other brother named Willis Jackson Gorham, he's a knock it off.
I think that's what your family's trying to tell you, dude. Like,
And so we go to a place called Spotsylvania, which is up in Virginia, and their other brother, Willis Jackson, was actually an officer in the Confederacy. He was captured there. We went to the same spot where his unit would have been, where he was captured. And I yelled into the woods. It had this really cool echo effect. I said, Willis Jackson. And I shit you not, on playback, we didn't hear it at the time. I said, yes, sir. I mean, clear as day. And we're like, was that Willis Jackson? He didn't die there. He went to POW, came out, actually was on General Lee's staff at the end of the war. But was it him? I don't know. But it was kind of like, wow, this having that sense
Everything
of
was just
family,
falling
you know?
into place.
Everything was falling into place. We have a lot of other little things that happen, but those are the main ones. But like that gave us really joy to like. So that's kind of what we're after. We're after that real history. I mean,
That's
really
pretty cool.
talking to real people that we know them, and that's what we're going to do.
do you guys have a lot of that like footage with all the stuff you've been telling
We have
us tonight? Like,
we have all of it.
Everything.
Discovery's not gonna like I
Oh,
want
this
to
is-
listen to your podcast, dude. I got
Yeah.
10 hours a day every day to kill.
All the stuff you're hearing, it will be on our podcast, including the evidence, all that. We'll actually probably have like some sort of like social media attachment to the podcast where you can actually go and listen to all the evidence that we play. But yeah, we have all these. I mean, the run, we caught drum beats, we caught a bullet whizzing by us, we caught the rebel yell in the middle of Pickett's Charge at night when nobody's even there.
What day is your podcast? Like, when's your podcast coming out? And
It's
what day
totally
is it gonna play?
It's totally in development right now. We're actually working with a major production company, almost like a TV show. It's being produced, and so we're at the very tail end of getting approved. So far, so good. The the pilot came out awesome. So we're waiting on that. Once that happens, these kind of stories that I just told will be those are going to be the podcast story. It's a storytelling podcast. It's not scripted. It's me and Brad just bullshitting with each other and telling the stories.
The scripted
With
the
ones
evidence, with the other stuff.
ass, dude. Like I hate scripted podcasts.
It depends on who writes the script.
I know
but
you like all the podcast stuff, but I'm the only one
dude.
that listens to podcasts in our group, and I listen to fucking.
Hey, you listen to
70 hours of them
podcasts?
a week.
So I have a question for all three of you. Have you ever had a spirit come forward and, say a name, say a, date of death and stuff like that, somebody you totally don't know? And then after the fact, you go and it's evidential, like everything that spirit said was, factual, good facts.
Yes.
Yep.
Good question, Deborah.
Got a good one. And it actually is tied to the Gettysburg in Fairfield. Fairfield's a town that is about 9 miles northwest of Gettysburg. And what happened was on July 4th, 1863, the Confederates all retreated. And it was a rainy day. They were coming through Fairfield. Their wagons are heavy. They were getting stuck in the mud. And they had all their wounded and they're dying, and they just dropped them off at the Fairfield Inn, and they basically said, here, they're your problem now. And so it was a makeshift hospital. They did all the amputations, all that stuff you hear about the Civil War. Did it right there at the Fairfield Inn. People died. They just buried them where they died all across that property. Winter came, froze over. Then when the spring came and the ground thawed out, they came back and tried to, dig up as many people as they could. Well, people got left behind. And so we're there, and we're in one of the rooms, and this is a Ghost Lab episode. You can watch this on our this is season 2, episode 1. We get a name that comes across, and we're just saying, is anybody here? The typical stuff. And in a Southern dialect, you hear a voice go, Private John Riley. And we were like, what was it? We heard it because we had an RTVP. We could hear it real time. And so we get a historian to research, and come to find out there was a Private John Riley who was in that unit that would have come through the Fairfield on that day that's missing in action. And so
he's from Beaufort, North Carolina.
He's from Beaufort, North Carolina.
Draw.
Mm-hmm.
Have they exhumed him? Have they possibly exhumed him yet? Like, has anyone wanted to exhume him?
No, he's missing in action.
He's action.
Somewhere buried in Fairfield.
But they can't go to Fairfield and try to find the body through thermal detection or anything like that.
An act of Congress.
Yeah, especially now that
that's all
the inn's
protected
owned.
shit now.
Oh yeah,
and it's still an inn too, and they're not going to want to have their entire place dug up and stuff like that. But we know that this Private John Riley comes through, and he would have been there, and he was actually missing in action.
See, I love that kind of thing when the spirit comes first, and then you get all the information, and then you can verify. Like that's crazy.
That's the way we operate. Yes, because we don't want the information, because we want to go into it with an open mind and just get something and then trace it backwards to make it make sense. Instead of going and looking for that and you find it, it's like, again, did you manifest that yourself? It's
yeah, interesting.
Kind of
Well, Heather, how about you?
It was one location, and we had two instances that turned out, whether they're 100, well, one we know is true because we researched it, but the other one is more of an urban legend. But when we were investigating, and I'm trying to remember the guy's name, but we did an EVP first session, and we were getting different EVPs that were related to the mob because it was a popular mob hangout in Vegas. And when we researched the name after we left, we found out that there was
it Vito Corleone?
No, sorry. But I'm going to remember when we're off the podcast, but we researched the name, and it turned out that it was a police officer from Chicago who had followed mob activity to Vegas. And he left this location that we were investigating at and was run down by a car in the street, which would have been the main Las Vegas Strip because it was just out front side the door. So, and that kind of was like, holy crap, this, we get a name, and we had a whole bunch of different activity that was relating that some type of, had, what was it, on the spirit box, we had freeze police come across clear as day. And we were downstairs in a basement, so we knew we weren't getting too much of interference from the radio frequencies, which is why we were using it. But then later on, we were using the spirit box again in the basement, and we started all of a sudden hearing right, left, straight, turn around. So we started following these directions, and then it was dead body at your feet. And when we
Oh.
started talking to the property owner, there's a rumor and a legend that the mob buried a body in the basement and they just poured cement over it and left it.
Oh, couldn't they dig it up
Oh.
and see?
He doesn't want to.
No, you wouldn't want to do that because then like they're gonna close your place down for months trying to
Right,
figure that
yeah.
shit out.
But
Like,
he also likes the idea of the story.
Don't
Of course,
you,
'cause it-
don't you wish you
Yeah.
were still there now that like Tahoe is down low and we're like finding all these bodies in these lakes
Yes,
around Vegas? Like,
when I wrote my last book, Ghosts and Legends of the Vegas Valley, it was sent to the publisher before they started finding these bodies. And one of the bodies is actually, they identified him as someone who I had written about at Circus Circus who went missing.
nice.
And I would have
Cool.
loved to have had that in the book that they finally found him.
well,
See, it's
rewrite
like
the book, dude. Go back
seriously
there.
revisions. Do a
It,
revision version.
it was a
but
wet year, but if you move quick, you'll
I mean,
get there. Like,
it's like the Great Lakes in New York. Like they say, so many bodies are buried in the Great Lakes in New York, and like I grew up like a couple hours away from them, and like I'd go to the Great Lakes once in a while, but there are so many bodies supposed to be buried by the mafia in the Great Lakes. Like it's just ridiculous. Like, and I mean, all around New York and different lakes, there's
we're
bodies
talking
buried.
Vegas bodies, and we just had a drought, dude. Like, this shit is
And we
Yeah.
also have more than
on
100
and popping.
suicides
Well,
that occurred from the bridge over not the Hoover Dam itself, but the Pat Tillman, Michael Callahan Bridge. And not all the bodies were recovered from the suicides that happened there since that bridge was built.
well, there you go. But one last question for all three of you. Have you ever investigated anything besides ghost activity, like anything more solid, especially down where you gentlemen
Oh,
are?
about Bigfoot porn? Come on.
No, not the porn, Scott, but the actual creature himself. I'm not even gonna say myth because we know he exists, but the actual creature. Have you ever done any like Bigfoot or Dogman investigations?
Dog man.
No, but we've actually investigated a missing persons case and actually found evidence.
Oh,
What
Color
was
me
the
intrigued.
evidence? We just did Missing 411 was our last episode.
So yeah,
Well, I guess our last episode was
in
the game show.
a town called Gilmer, Texas, up near, it's in northeast Texas. Back in 17 years ago, or no, 31 years ago, sorry. She was 17 years old. The girl disappeared. She was a senior in high school. Went to work one day, left work to go deposit her check. Gone, never seen again. Lots of rumors in town. Somebody, the sheriff did it, the boyfriend did it, the manager, all these people did it. Well, Brad and I put an ad out several months ago. We were looking to do some stuff with like missing person or a cold case murder or something like that. See if we can find paranormal evidence that would lead to clues or some sort of something to help solve the case. This guy answered from Gilmer and said, I got this really cool case here. It's really old. It's never been solved. Cool. So he set it up. We were actually going to go to the store that she worked at. It's not the same. It was a video store at the time. It's not a video store now, but the building's still there. We're going to go in there and do EVP sessions, blah, blah, blah. About a week before we're going to go, he called, hey, there's been an update in the investigation. We have access to this property now. Back in September, they got an anonymous call, the police did, that this young girl said that when she was a little girl, she overheard some stuff and some things that happened that her dad was involved at the time. And so she had pretty good evidence that her dad was involved, and even told the police where the dad told her that this girl was buried. And this property is the property that we have access to. And so, which back in the day was actually owned by the video store manager. That her boss owned that property. So all these
Sounds
things,
like a sad ass fucking story.
all these
dude.
things, I'm telling you, all these things were like Adam wants like a movie. So we get there, and I shit you not, this is the truth. We get there, we go to this area. Oh, back up a little bit. They go search the property because of the lead. They brought cadaver dogs. They brought 2 cadaver dogs. One dog ran around like 4 acres, ran around the whole place, came to this one spot by this tree and reacted, alerted that there's possibly human scent there. They put that dog up. The second dog gets out, runs around, does his thing. He also alerts at the same spot that the other dog did. Police show up. They have some shovels. It's kind of like the Barney Fife of the area. They show up with just shovel. They move the dirt around a little bit. Oh, no, she's not here. And they leave. They really even dig. We get there. We go to the spot where the dog shit. It's nighttime now. It's dark. It's me, Brad, and a couple other people. And we had a REM pod going. And we're just asking questions, messing around. Hey, are you here? Blah, blah, blah. And that thing was, on cue. And I would say, okay, turn it off. And it would go off. Not a coincidence. It did that several times. Well, then the crescendo was they had this chicken coop right there with this duck was in this chicken coop, and this duck started going nuts, like something was strangling this duck. And I jokingly go, "Hey, is that you messing with the duck?" And the brim pod goes off. I said, "All right, you know the routine, turn it off," and it goes off. About 2 seconds later, we didn't hear it at the time, we caught it on EVP and playback later. The voice says, in a teenage girl's voice, sarcastic, says, "I'm literally 5 feet away from you." That was I shit you not. That was the EVP. "I'm literally 5 feet away from you." And we're like, holy crap. And so, we're like, everybody's like freezing. Oh my, what do we do now? So we went back. We actually found her best friend the next day. Her best friend from high school that knew her played the EVP. And she said, she actually started crying. She said, that's her voice. And so, what was it? March, Brad?
Yeah, it was March. We actually went up there when my friend had a backhoe, and we dug that whole area up trying to find this body. We were unsuccessful, but it's a needle in a haystack. You know what I mean? It could have been 100 feet that way. 100
tree
feet
out of the
that way.
ground?
We pretty much dug a small swimming pool. I mean, we dug.
Yeah,
we had a front end loader, back excavator. We dug like when I'm not just shovels and picks. I mean, we had heavy equipment, and we dug pretty deep. No sign of nothing.
That's not to say that at some point in the past 30 years, if whoever may have buried the body there came and dug the body up and moved it or destroyed it.
But it's pretty cool
whatever.
to get that EVP. I mean, it really convinced a lot of people that, oh shit, she's there. I mean, it was that serious.
Question: where did Bigfoot or Dogman play in that?
Well, up there actually where we were.
Well, the question was anything besides ghosts or paranormal. Well, I guess that was ghost paranormal, but that was our roundabout way.
I mean,
there is a Bigfoot that's sighted in that area. The skunk ape is actually sighted in that area too. So if that helps.
I was gonna say you're down south. I mean, like that's Dogman territory.
I've actually seen a chupacabra myself in person.
That's the one. Any psychedelic mushrooms?
No, I'm serious. I was down the ranch. Me and my son, and we were going to hunt there, and while we were scouting the area, and I came around the corner. I was on a 4-wheeler. My son was on the other 4-wheeler, and I got lost. I missed the trail, so I was turning around. As soon as I turned around, this hairless white dog. I call it. I think it's a mange coyote or a bald coyote is what I want to say it is, but very peculiar, long pointy snout. 2 fangs at the very end of his nose, bleached, almost tan, white, no hair, long, scraggly tail, and it just sat there on its haunches, just kind of sitting up, looking at us for about 5 seconds, and then hopped off into a bush.
Dude, you guys are in Texas. That could have been a Tasmanian tiger with.
I mean, that's the funniest.
I've never seen. I've been in the woods all my life, and I've never.
What do you guys hunt?
Like
what do you hunt?
What do we hunt?
Yeah, you got everything. Like you guys can hunt fucking zebra,
wild hogs, whitetail, exotics.
That's the funny thing. Oh, exotics. That's interesting.
Yeah, but, no. What exotics have you guys gotten? Because you don't even. They
don't want to incriminate themselves, Scott. Come on.
Black buck, antelope, axis deer.
Oh man, you got an access?
Rams, doll rams.
It's a way of life down here. It's they actually let out school, when hunting season opens.
Yeah,
Neil Guy.
I want to get down there. I've never lived in Texas. Neil Guy too. Like you guys got the shit going on, dude.
In my backyard, everywhere.
I mean, Scott's supposed to send me venison jerky for like 2 months now, but I see chupacabra is one of those cryptids I barely believe in. Like, it's like people ask me all the time, like what the most skeptic I am about any cryptid. And
This
it's
guy
always
believes in Frogman, by the way.
You believe in Thunderbirds?
Yeah, even Deborah laughed.
I do, because thunderbirds are just pterodactyls that survive the extinction.
We've seen him. We saw one when we were about 10, but he was about 10. I was about 8.
There you go, Scott. There you go.
Tell him about all the other dinosaurs you believe in.
Oh, don't get me started on Macaulay and Ben.
Only about from where we sit right now, maybe 2 miles from where we sit back in the day when I was about 8 years old.
Did it look like a pterodactyl?
Oh, exactly.
Where do you guys think it actually exists right now? Like, you think there's breeding pairs, like a whole flock of
In the
them?
caves,
Where
dude.
are
In the
they?
caves. We went through this.
No, I don't want to
It's
hear
in the
from
caves.
you, dude. You believe in everything.
No, I
Well,
don't.
I want to hear from
We have
these
caves.
guys. They
We have
actually
caves
saw
all.
one.
Yeah, we have caves all around in this area of the Natural Bridge Caverns. With the largest bat cave in the world in the area. So if they live in caves, that could be very,
But where do
Third
you
possibility.
guys think they actually live? Is what I want to know. Like, where
We
do you
saw
think?
this one in a creek bed, here by our house.
in the broad daylight.
It was by itself and just coming down this creek bed squawking. And me and Brad, I was probably 13, he was 8 and 9 years old, and sure as shit. And in fact, actually on a radio, there was a radio announcement later on the day that some trucker had seen the same thing about maybe a mile from where we were. Same description.
Hammerhead,
pterodactyl,
purplish
purple.
skin,
Yep.
large wingspan, and we were close to it. It was probably 30
We
feet.
hauled ass.
How old are you, Barry?
I'm 54.
54. Okay, so I can't.
40 years
like,
ago, roughly.
Okay, I can't even bring Jurassic Park into this.
No, it was before Jurassic Park, Scott. You have no fucking alibis here.
See, but that's cool that you saw it, but then someone else also saw it.
Yeah, I mean
That's
that's
really
three.
cool.
That's
That's pretty
three
cool.
witnesses for the same fucking
But
creature.
where do you guys think it lives?
The caves.
Dude, they said they're surrounded by caves. What the hell do you
Well, yeah,
expect?
no, but that wasn't their like.
We never thought about it. Actually, our reaction was when we were down, they were on our bikes and we were just riding around and we were thinking that this thing's going to pick us up and carry us off. We weren't thinking about where it lived and whatever. And as we got older, we just tell the story of what we saw. We never really thought about, well, I wonder where that thing lives. I wonder if there's more of them. We saw what we saw. That's all we know.
I mean, put it this way: there's a Mysteries and Monsters in America episode where this Thunderbird, or pterodactyl as I call it, picked up a kid from a front lawn in somewhere in Southwest America and literally carried the kid in the 70s, like a couple houses down before the people shooting at it finally made it drop the kid. So, I mean,
Pictures of it like Civil War era, like people
Yep.
holding them.
Thunderbirds are pterodactyls, and people are just too freaking naive to admit
We'll
it.
talk about that picture. I've seen that picture. We'll talk.
Has
about
anybody
that off air.
has anybody investigated the caves themselves? Like, did anyone go in with cameras and whatever and get evidence?
There's
in there?
spelunkers all the time.
Spelunker. You can actually go spelunking in those caves, and so it's very explored. It's not a mystery to anybody what's down
So
there.
has anybody caught evidence of these cryptids?
I
living in
haven't
caves
really
though, or-
heard. I haven't heard of any sightings since then. Really,
But
That was 40
Deborah-
years ago.
Deborah, these caves are so deep. You think people are really going as fully deep as these caves are?
Yeah.
Like, and they fly. They could fly out of they could fly a 60-foot, 70-foot, 150-foot distance out of these caves in like a couple minutes. So, like,
Well,
are you really good?
That's
But
the
we've
thing,
talked
right?
about
Like,
all kinds of
Texas
stuff in
has-
the caves. So
Texas
mean-
has more tigers in captivity than the world has. Period. So like
I mean,
you can shoot giraffe in the wild, right? Like if it escapes from somebody's pen,
And they have
You
people that
guys-
raise them actually for game shooting. I mean, I'm not into that,
yeah,
but you know,
like
zebras.
fucking A,
and,
dude.
you know, all
oh,
that.
I couldn't shoot a giraffe. That'd be against
Fucking
nature.
A.
That's terrible.
Shooting a giraffe would be like a slight against whatever deity you believe in. But
Terrible, dude. Like fucking Texas has anything.
well,
in
it's
the
Texas,
world.
dude. I mean,
Like every
I mean,
animal. If a pterodactyl lives, it's in Texas. I will
Well,
say that.
It's in Texas or Arizona or New Mexico or one of those states with all the caves where, I mean, I told you, Lon Strickler, a paranormal investigator out of Pennsylvania, straight up told me stories he's heard of dragons coming out of Pennsylvania mines. So
I think the dragons might have existed. I do.
they still
I do
exist, according to
buy
him.
into that.
They still exist. They're in Pennsylvania mines. Like, let's go mining in Pennsylvania. Scott. Let's see-
Chupacabras bullshit, but dragons exist. Okay.
Thank
I'm
you
not. I'm not
for
saying
that.
I fully. I'm not saying I fully believe it, but I mean, I've been told it, and I don't know. Chupacabras to me, I think are more just extraterrestrial in origin.
Dude, chupacabra.
No, well, the funny thing
like
about
a
chupacabras
small
is that
animal.
a lot of people have seen them and they've actually shot them, and when they do the DNA test or they do the test on them, they really don't fit anything. They could be kind of coyote, a hairless Mexican dog
Yeah.
or whatever, but they don't really fit.
With chupacabras, I always heard like mange dogs, mange coyotes, whatever you want to call them. Like, there's always some
What it looks
explanation
like.
for them. Like, I mean,
But with the teeth, like the
Well,
fangs.
The
I know,
fangy
but-
things,
I-
yeah.
I definitely believe in the chupacabra before I believe in pterodactyls. And I know you guys saw one.
pterodactyls, we have freaking fossil exhibits for, dude. Are you kidding me?
Well,
We
maybe
have bones of
chupacabras are
pterodactyls.
Smarter, dude.
Well, all right. Let me ask you this: since you guys are out that way in the West, what do you think of Skinwalker Ranch? And do you want to investigate there?
Have you guys?
Have you?
investigated
Yeah,
it?
have you ever?
Oh no, they haven't
No.
investigated there. It's been under
No.
lockdown for the last 25 years.
I watched a couple of episodes of the show. It's pretty cool. I mean, some of the
Mhm.
stuff they catch is pretty cool. And some of the, I guess they got a giant budget for the things they're doing out there with drones and rockets and helicopters and all that
I mean,
kind of crap. But
It's what, fucking National Geographic or something. So yeah, of course
History
they have
Channel. Yeah.
yeah, history.
yeah,
Channel.
of course they have a budget.
I
Yes.
would like to ask them a question. I am an hour and a half away from Skinwalker Ranch. They have police constantly patrolling that road, like right by the ranch.
Mhm.
Would it be worth it for me to drive up there and try to like record anything? And that this goes.
I
for
think
all
you can stay.
three
I
of
think you can stay off at a distance and just kind of record the sky because it happened.
Yeah, just because it happened on the ranch, it's still
Yeah,
in
the stuff
sky.
happens in the skies around. There's a lot of UFO activity in the
Yeah.
area.
It's closely monitored, like Area 51. I know someone who tried to get there, and all she could, I mean, she was stupid enough to try to get in, but she was like quickly escorted away. And it was like, I think she said over a mile away, she started seeing signs, turn around, no trespassing, even before she got there. And Area 51's the same thing. But if you find a cliff, or not a cliff, but like a hillside, you can see the property.
Well,
I
And-
mean,
I've watched like, I don't know, 20 people who have had to like actually tried to drive through the area and just like park and stop and record. And the 6-ups like right on them. Like, so I don't know. Like, do you think it would be worth it for me and my son to go drive back and forth for like a couple hours and have
Just do
him
like she
record
said,
off
get a
the
camping
side?
spot on a hill close by with a
There's
cover,
no
made out of.
camping up there, dude. It's like
Oh, I'm
that
saying
area.
you're going like you're making a what do you call those where you hide in behind the leaves and whatever and have your little telescope sticking out and
a hide behind, Deborah. A hide behind.
yeah, yes.
You're not going to hear
But,
from me.
yes.
It's not going to be. The Kling brothers told me that I could come out here. That's why I'm out here, officer.
Yes,
I mean-
yeah.
Really,
I don't know.
who?
Do it.
Ooh.
So
All the
here's
You
Here's
gotta
a-
find that sweet spot that's far enough away where they're not going to notice you, but yet you can still
but
see
you can still
everything.
see. Yeah.
I mean, the people who were stupid enough to think, "Oh, we're going to storm Area 51 during COVID."
yeah.
Like you're
Good-
all
good
fucking
luck.
idiots because you're going to get shot down by snipers. Like as soon as you try to get near the property, like
Oh, nobody got shot down. They just
nobody
got
did because nobody
pictures
did. Nobody
smacked
did,
in
Scott.
the
Nobody
bottom.
did. They're all pussies. But
Here's the question, you guys, and you don't have to, say dates and times or whatever. Have you ever snuck onto a property where you don't have permission,
This is
but
a great
it's just
question.
so good? But so you needed to get in there and see what you could find out.
No, I've been a good girl.
Yeah, I don't think
I don't-
have.
I don't-
No.
I don't want to go to jail. So I'm good.
like we said,
Nobody's
no
That's
dates.
a
watching,
solid
dude.
yes,
You
they
guys
just don't
have
wanna say it.
anything in the future?
No, nobody's watching at this moment, and no dates and times. Go ahead.
Right.
No, I don't
Nothing
think I've ever
incriminating.
snuck in anywhere.
Where would you want to go? Like if there were no rules, like you could get into anywhere. Let's say
Antarctica.
Discovery was
Yeah.
they just
Antarctica,
told
man.
the government to fuck off. Where would you want to go?
Antarctica.
All
That's where the
three of
dinosaurs
you.
live. Antarctica. That's where dinosaurs live.
Well, that's all for you. That's what Jeremy would want to do. Let's start off with Heather.
One place that I'm just dying to go to investigate is the Sydney Opera House.
Ooh,
The
I've heard a
history
lot of
there.
stories about that. Yeah.
Yeah, the history there, and it's such a beautiful structure to begin with. I just, it's going to be an amazing night if you go there.
Sydney, Australia?
No,
Yeah.
yes,
The Opera
the Sydney
House.
Opera House in Australia.
Okay.
Parcast did a haunted places episode on it, and like the stories coming out of that opera house are fucking haunting as shit. And I mean, well, okay, I'll add to my list the White House, because the White House, I want to investigate the White House like with no one else
That's
there.
mine. That's mine.
Thank you. President, dude. Lincoln's there supposedly.
Yep.
And of course we want to do the Alamo.
Mhm.
You can't get like that, like
you guys are
approved or
right
anything?
there. You can't
Nah.
do that.
No.
Really? I thought that'd be
Sacred ground.
approved. Like
Sacred
That's
ground.
sacred, holy ground. You're
only
not
to
getting in
Texans,
there.
but yeah.
Guarded 24 hours a day by Texas Rangers.
Really?
Oh.
And I'm okay. And I'm okay with that. You know.
Yeah, we're good.
I'm
We're
okay
good
with
with
that.
that.
I respect it, but
Why,
still, I mean,
though? Why?
because of the fucking Mexican Texas war,
Because
dude.
it's
Come
Texas.
on.
Because it's
Yeah,
Texas.
that's what Texans are all about.
Yeah, no, but what I'm saying is why is that guarded so fiercely?
It's a shrine. That's
It's a
where the
Texans gave their lives
gave their
for
lives
independence.
for independence. And
But
It's
what
just-
I'm
And-
saying is that's
the
a
mentality of
huge
Texans.
part
Have you
of
ever been to Texas? You ever been to Texas?
Oh yeah.
Texans down here. I mean, that's just. It's
You
not
don't
like
joke
your
about it.
national. It's not about national, like being a patriot and pride. Texas is different. It's they take that shit
Lone
seriously.
Star State.
They shoot
dude,
you.
But I would imagine that they would let you do walk-through tourism.
Well, you can
Yeah,
go
you
on
can
tours
walk through
there,
fucking
and you can
Alamo.
you can go on tours there and stuff, but you can't. I mean, I'm not talking like being in there by yourself, like true investigation with nobody
Yeah, like-
around. They have ghost tours all
Okay.
around the Alamo and Alamo
That
Plaza,
makes-
but they actually be in the confines of the Alamo.
But you have to turn your cell phones off. You have to take your hats off when you walk in. You have
Seriously?
to.
Well,
Yes.
that is fucking curious.
Well, you know that we
you
have our
gotta
own
turn your
we have our
cell
own-
phones off.
Yeah,
Yep.
we have our own Pledge of Allegiance. Did you know that
Yeah, I knew
in
that. but-
schools? Yeah,
Yeah, I knew that. I
they
knew
do
that.
the
But I mean,
U.S. and then they do the Texas Pledge of Allegiance.
well, Scott, you gotta
Well,
remember, the Alamo is the place where Texas got independence, and it's the place where in about the next decade they'll probably declare their independence from the United States.
No, that's gonna be Florida. They already tried it. And
No,
Florida did too, but
Dude, Texas had a bill. If I'm not mistaken, Texas had a bill on the election this year to declare their independence from America.
They did, and actually, Texas is the only state where we can fly our flag at the equal height of the American flag. Everyone else has to fly it below the American flag. Texas is the only state that's allowed to fly it at the same height. That was one of the rules when we became a state.
Because we were
I don't know if
our own country.
Utah's following that rule. Yeah,
We
you
were
got
the
Lone
Republic of
Star
Texas.
State.
So
Yeah, don't tread on me. That's where it comes from. But
Oh, I would love to move.
Come
to
and- come and-
Texas.
That'd be
The
cool.
Gulf, shark
Come and take it,
fishing.
sir. Mm-hmm.
You
Come and
guys
take
got
it,
fucking
Armando.
alligator gar.
Well,
oh,
let me ask you two this: what do you think of the potential King of the Hill reboot that's coming out next year or the year after?
what the fuck?
They're Texans, dude. They know King of the Hill.
Yeah,
It's a
I
Texan
know
show.
King
God
of the
damn it,
Hill.
Bobby.
Exactly.
Already
Thank you.
died, dude.
we know the guy who does what's the guy's name, bro?
Mike Judge.
Redfern.
Yeah,
Judge?
no, it's not Redfern. That's the
That's the guy that
Bigfoot
does
guy.
it.
Oh,
Anyway, we
Wow,
know the guy
okay,
that does
no.
a voiceover for that.
I forget
Actually,
what his name
For
the
who?
catfish
Which-
plantation. It's a Native
Oh,
American
fucking
guy.
Boomhauer.
Redcorn.
Boom.
Redcorn.
Oh,
Redcorn.
Redcorn. John
Redcorn, yeah.
Redcorn.
Yeah, the
Oh,
guy
yeah,
the guy that does his
yeah.
voice lives around here.
I was thinking of
in the King-
Redfern, the guy we're trying to get
Yeah,
on
he's a
our
Bigfoot guy.
convention.
No,
Yeah.
the guy who does John Redcorn's voice is in a group. Is in a group I'm in. That's a King of the Hill group. Like he actually participates in
Yeah, he
sends,
lives here. He lives locally here.
Have you guys ever done that fucking big neck crane episode? You got to dive into that shit, right? What did they call? You remember the big neck crane that fucking Bobby and Joseph killed? And they were trying to say, was
the
whooping-
swamp
the
whooping
dog
crane.
booga.
the Whoopata, the Whoopata, or what the hell it's called.
The
Yeah,
whooping crane.
The whooping.
yeah. But
crane,
in the
yeah.
episode they call it Whoopata or something like that. Like I fucking forget what it's called. Oh my god, I feel
Yeah,
ashamed.
that shit's fun.
That's one of my that's one of my favorite top 5 animated shows of all time. But
That's
uh,
not anime, my friend.
It's first season. It's first season of fucking King of the Hill, like that episode. But
Okay, I got one last question for our
One last one, then we're going to
guests.
jump off.
What do you
Yeah,
think
we all gotta.
happens to us when we die?
good question, Scott.
What do you think happens to our consciousness specifically?
Linger around as energy.
No, the consciousness.
Your soul,
like-
your soul.
your consciousness is free will, is the energy. Your consciousness is what moves your body.
so you can
You're-
remember.
Yeah, memory
Yeah.
memory is not in the brain itself. Memory is the energy that the brain stores. But when the brain is not there, the energy that, like, for example, you have a microchip, right? All the information that can go on a microchip, right?
Mhm.
Does it weigh anything? Does it have mass? Does it have no? It's invisible energy that is on a medium. That energy is going to be there if the microchip isn't there. How does it get played? That's the big question.
Yes.
That goddamn, that is the best way I have ever
But
heard.
We
that
also explain it
relayed.
as like a vinyl record. You know, you can
Is
put
that-
a vinyl record, hold it
Yeah.
to your ear. It's just a piece of vinyl. But until you put the electricity in that needle in the grooves, you get reaction, you get music, you get sound. Same thing.
but do you
I
guys
like
believe
that.
there's
How does it get played? It's
Do you guys
there,
believe-
but it doesn't
well,
get played. That
to follow up on
makes
Scott's
fucking
question? To
sense.
follow up on Scott's question a little deeper. Do you think there's a chance that there being an afterlife or no? Or reincarnation in the same
We gotta
sentence,
let
kind of.
Heather answer first.
I know, but I want to hear their final. I want to hear the final part of the answer.
Well, let Heather answer first.
All right.
Yeah, it all depends. I truly believe that your energy goes where you want it to go. So, and it's a matter of, like they said, finding a way to be able to hear it and read it and play it. And so there's energy all around us, and who knows how many spirit energies we have around us at all times that we're just not able to detect because we can't see, read, or hear it. But as far as reincarnation, it's one of those things where it could happen. I really haven't done too much research into it, but I do think that if that's something that your consciousness wants, that it'll find a way to happen.
Well, we're all dying. You guys better start doing that research.
What the fuck's in your mouth, dude?
Okay, Jeremy,
Dude,
I'm
my fucking
done.
dog's has a mousetrap in his mouth. I'm like, what the fuck's in your mouth? It's like a mousetrap.
Well, the mouse is gone.
We didn't catch any mice in the basement since we moved in.
Snack.
Really, it's all in the they're all in the bathroom underneath the sink for some reason.
Thank you guys for coming, man.
Ain't no
Yeah,
problem.
this has been amazing.
Yeah, it's been a fun episode, and I'm just gonna say if you two guys or if you Heather, especially, I mean, even you two guys, when you get your podcast like with a name and everything, and you want to like promote it, like if you want to come to my show, Paranormal Normal, just hit me up, Jeremy Bryan on Facebook, and I will gladly have you on.
Okay.
Sounds good.
110
All right.
110 episodes strong at this point. So
Very cool.
We ready to stop the live stream?
well, why don't you let our guests tell people where they can find
Oh
them?
yeah, tell
Yeah.
everybody where you can find.
Okay.
Go ahead, Heather.
Okay, you can find me at, I have a website, it's heatherleephd.com, or my team's name, explorationparanormal.com, as well as on Facebook at Dr. Heather Leigh. Or you can find my Tuesday morning podcast. It's on WLTK-DB radio, and it's a Facebook at, I changed the name, so it's at Exploring the Paranormal Show. And there we talk about all the different things, scientific based as well. And then I have a whole bunch of different guests with, I try to showcase all the different beliefs and experiences in the paranormal field as much as I can.
Respect.
Send both of you groups. Send me the links because I'm a horrible speller.
Okay.
Yeah, ours
And he's
is
been
easy.
drinking as usual. So yeah,
And
Ours
I'll
is
be
easy.
drinking when I post it. So
Ours is everydayparanormal.com. You
nice.
find everything
that-
there.
is that your new-
Everydayparanormal.com. That's our old group. That's our original ghost group when we were on Ghost Labs. Everyday Paranormal.
And
Is
then,
that
yeah,
gonna
for
be the name of your new show?
No, we just keep it because it's such the name recognition. But the new show, I'm sure it'll have Kling Brothers in it or something that shows it's us. But
Well, you've got to text that to me for personal reasons. I have 10 hours a day to kill every fucking day at the old.
God, you have 10, you have
Bravo.
10 hours a day to kill, but you'll listen to my fucking podcast. Like, come on, dude. That's disrespectful.
Well, if y'all want to come to Texas
I
in
do
January,
listen to your podcast.
in January,
you
we're
do?
putting on in January, we're putting on a big paranormal convention here called Lone Star Paracon, January 27th here, where we in our hometown actually.
Is there
It's
gonna
on-
be any
Sweet.
hunting?
It's on our website. I'm actually Jason Hawes is coming. I'm actually taking him hog hunting.
Oh man, my son wants to go hog hunting. What was that date again?
January 26th and 27th. It's gonna be
Oh, that's
lectures.
a-
We're doing a big
that's a
VIP
long-
party the night before, vendors, investigations.
Oh, that's it, you guys. We gotta go. We gotta try and.
Come on down to Texas.
Yeah, definitely. My son will get a
Oh my-
kick out of that hog hunting, dude. Okay, let me end this shit.